Hi guys, Blacksmith Bets here, making another video about capping football because I keep talking about it and people don't get it, so I'm going to start getting a bit aggy now and get a bit spiteful. I've posted a lot about this and people just ignore it. I post and say, and this is to other cappers, it's not just to casuals, because look, I wouldn't expect someone who's a casual bettor, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. I know that term gets thrown around in the MMA community a lot. When I say casuals, I mean people who bet casually. They're not trying to make money, it's just a bit of fun. But when I'm saying it to them, I don't expect them to get it. When I say it to cappers, they should understand. They get it. They get odds, they get value. But they still fall into the same trap that I mentioned in the last few videos where they just bet favourites. Why? Why are you betting favourites? We all know that the best value is away from public money. That doesn't mean that we always fade the public, by the way. But what that means is we know with underdogs, there's always good value in them. So why does nobody play it? Why does nobody play team totals for teams that we know are going to score a lot who are underdogs as well? The odds are insane for some of those. I actually got St. Louis team total over 1.5 goals. So they just need to score 2 goals last weekend. It was at nearly, I think it was nearly 2-1 odds. It was 2.75 decimal odds. So like whatever that is, plus 175 in American odds. They didn't even have to win. They just had to put 2 goals in. We know MLS is full of goals. Why would you not do that? Why would you not work that way instead of betting the favourites? Come on. Getting a bit pissed off now. Sorry, I don't mean to swear, but that's not really a swear, but it probably is from where you lot are from, whoever you're watching. The reason I'm making this video is because, again, and look, I've said this so many times, I don't know much about football. I mean, I say that, I obviously know something about football. I'm British. It's not like back in the day where if you went into football, you'd get your head kicked in and, you know, no one really talked to you. That's what it used to be like if you went back 10 years ago. If you didn't like football, and you were in a workplace, in a school, you kind of were just an outcast and you were just pushed to the side. I know, because that was me. I was into MMA, I didn't care. I used to work on building sites before I got into white collar work. And I just had no interest in football. But since sports betting, I do. And the big reason I really like sports betting football is because there is great value. Just like with horse racing. Horse racing is It's a sport where a lot of people who don't normally bet will bet it because it's Cheltenham, you know, whatever, it's one of these big race days, a Grand National. But the real appeal is horses are usually at higher odds. So you get to win a 5-1, an 8-1, a 10-1. It's more excitement. But nobody does it on football and they've got a better understanding. So I want to talk about it again. Because last night we had Bayern Munich against Real Madrid. This was an interesting one because we're not really talking about fading the public here, but the bet that cashed the most money, by the way, I did 5 bets and they all hit. One of them was a push actually, so that was a refund, but what I mean is none of them lost, all 4 of us hit and we made over 5 units profit from that one game. That's a lot of money for me. Everyone does units kind of differently. With me, my target for sports that aren't the UFC is 0.6 units of profit a day. That's a good day. It's what I go for the average. So that one game made me and my followers over a week's worth of profit. Nearly 2 weeks worth of profit. Nearly 10 days worth of profit. Read it back in. But check it out. This is what I had. So I had Real Madrid double chance. 1.62 odds. I had both teams to score as well, at basically the same odds, 1.61, 1.62, something like that. 2 safe bets in my opinion. Bayern are at home, granted, but we've seen how good Real Madrid are as a team. And we know that these contests are often closely contested. I saw it as a very safe bet because if Real win, and by the way, if you look back in the stats, Real and Bayern, if you look at the times that they face each other, Real have a huge advantage over them. So when you take that into account, and the home advantage for Bayern, as well as their good form in Europe, you had a perfect recipe for the big winner of the night, which was the draw, which is what I tipped as my higher odds play. But I'm just going through them now. So those 2 hit, bang, easy. And Real Madrid draw, no bet. Obviously we got that at a refund. After that, we had double chance plus, or Real Madrid double chance plus both teams to score, which was higher odds. It was like 2.35, so plus 1.35 for you Americans, or anyone who uses that odds system. Nice win. Very nice when you consider that we've also won double chance Real Madrid and both teams to score. So we're already up 1.2 units. We hit that, we add another 1.35 units. So right now we're at 2.5 units already. But then we've got the draw. The draw was at 3.80, so plus 280. Nobody took the draw. Everyone was on Real, sharps and public money. There was more sharp money on Real than Bayern, which is kind of interesting, but you've got to take into account Bayern's form in Europe and also the home advantage. Those things do matter, even though Real stylistically have always had an edge over Bayern. And you would know from, if you watched the last few games, you would know they have an edge. They can pull goals out of nowhere. They've got a very, how can I say this? I wouldn't say unpredictable, but they have a style where the attack comes out of nowhere. It's very unpredictable, and that works quite well against Bayern. So why did I take the draw? It was quite obvious that the bookies were not too worried about the bets on Real. They had sharp money on Real. They also had a lot of public money on Real. But the odds were still quite high. They were still the dog. I think they were at plus 200. And Real are a great team, so that was a red flag to me. Kind of a red flag. I liked Real stylistically. I respect Bayern. I actually called them and said you should back them the other week. When they played Arsenal, and they were a massive underdog. I said, those odds are way too high. I put that in my group. That was the long shot as well. So I bet that, not because I thought they were going to win, but because the odds were so high. They were like 4 or 5 to 1. This is what I'm trying to say with these videos. This is how you bet profitably in sports betting. You do not go and pick Arsenal in that matchup, because even if they do win, the odds are so poor, it's not plus EV. You pick Bayern. Or the draw, if you really thought it was, there was no way that Arsenal could lose. This game is similar. So you had that, you look at the Bayern side, the odds, in my opinion, when you looked at them, and this is why you've got to get into the fact of getting into the bookies' heads. The bookies are trying to manipulate you into taking the wrong play. If you looked at the odds and you looked at the public betting splits, you could kind of see the bookies were anticipating a draw. You can look at how they adjust the lines. They weren't scared of money going on Real. They weren't, because the odds were so high and there was a lot of money on it. Bayern were just over 2.00. I think they're 2.20, which is kind of suspicious for me. Just the way that it went. I believe that the draw line was put higher than it should have been to dissuade people from betting it, because this is how most people make a bet. They look at their phone, they go, what are the odds? Draw, 3.75, that's quite high. Yeah, it's probably not going to be a draw. They let the odds dictate to them. They think the bookies, they know the bookies get things right most of the time. They know that they always lose, so they don't trust their own judgment. So even when they think, oh yeah, it could be a draw, they look at the odds and go, ooh, yeah, it's probably not going to be a draw actually. Those odds are quite high. And then they don't play it, and then they'll play Bayern, because they think, oh, that's safer, they're at home, 5-1. Or they play Real, because Real are dominating so well. This is what I'm doing. I was speaking to someone last night who's going to be on my channel soon, JB Sports, someone I've been following for a long time. And I was explaining to him, I don't have a model. I don't build models like most sports bettors do. I'm an MMA sports bettor, so we can't really build a model because the fighters don't fight each other, twice a season, like with other sports. So I said, this is a hole in my game, but this is how I make my bets. I make the stylistic matchup. I put down an implied probability that I believe for all the outcomes for Bayern, Real, and a draw. And then I decide what I would cap them. And I had that game capped way lower as a draw. I would have capped it at, probably 3.00 decimal odds, plus 200. So it was almost, plus 75 more, 0.75 more than it should have been, in my opinion. I thought that game had draw all over it. And you can kind of see when you look at my Telegram as well, because I had those plays the safer one. I had the draws the riskier play, even though I actually really believed it was going to happen. Because even I see the odds and I go, oh yeah, those odds are quite high. Like, mate, yeah, probably, maybe it is not as likely as I think. They even convince me, even though that I know they're playing this game. And this is what you've got to start thinking. You've got to start looking at the odds and thinking, who are the bookie trying to get me to bet? And now look, this is not an exact science. The bookies do get it wrong. We all know that. We get it wrong as cappers. We're not machines. We just try and take plays that are profitable over long term. But this is the thing. When you see lines like that, you know, nearly 3-1 for a draw, for a game which is going to be tightly contested, two teams evenly matched, one's got an advantage, the other, in terms of stylistic advantage, one's got the home advantage, recipe for a draw. You've got to start playing the odds. I'm going to keep saying this, I'm going to keep making videos because nobody is letting it sink in. I put this on Twitter, people ignore it. It's an interesting subject because why would you want to be cashing 1.70, 1.80 odds when you could be cashing 3.75 regularly? Nobody wants to believe this. I did it the other week with Plymouth and Leicester. Plymouth had the home advantage. Leicester, yeah, they're a better team, but they're going to underestimate them. Why did I make that pick? I didn't think Plymouth were going to win, but at 4.75 odds, I knew that was a great bet. I knew that that was plus EV. And this is what I'm saying. You don't bet to win. We obviously want to take bets that we think have a good chance of winning, but we're betting because of the odds. If we bet just because we wanted to pick who was going to win, we'd be backing every massive favourite all the time. We'd be parlaying them all together. Why don't we do that? Why don't we parlay just a load of minus 500s in together, you know, 1.12 odds plays together all the time if it's so easy to pick a favourite? Because we know that some of them lose. So flip it on its head, think the other way around. Well, why are we not backing the underdogs? Because the odds are so high, you will make profit. Yeah, you might lose 3 of the bets, but you'll win 1. That's at 6-1 odds. Start doing it, guys. Start betting underdogs. Why are you betting the favourites? The bookies want you to bet the favourites. Look at the odds they give you. When they've got 90% of people betting on something, that's by design. They want you to bet on that. Just like everyone who bet Real yesterday and didn't take double chance or draw no bet, they all lost. That 90% of them, including the sharps. Don't bet who the bookies want you to bet on. Fade them. Work it out. You can work it out by looking at the lines. It won't work every time. It's very specific games. And look in my Telegram. In my Telegram, I don't win every time. But do you know, when I'm placing bets, like last night, 4 bets that hit. So we hit 3 bets, yeah? That made us 2.5 units. And then the draw, that made us another 2.75. I don't need to win every bet because I'm betting big odds. So yeah, do you know what? Tonight I might lose. I might lose a load of bets tonight. Doesn't matter, I'm really up, you know. I'm up almost 5 units from one game. I might lose. I could lose a couple units tonight, I'm still up. But then the next game, I'll win, and then I'll be up even more because I'll be betting underdogs at big odds or draws, not necessarily underdogs, but big plus money plays where the value is. Start doing it, guys. Don't do what the bookies want you to do. I repeat myself a lot, and I say this in my Telegram. In my free Telegram, I started it because when I was trying to learn how to cap and get profitable at sports betting, no one would tell me these things. They wanted to keep their information to themselves. I reached out to a few people, a few cappers who I knew were legit. Some of them weren't as profitable as I thought, but they knew their stuff and they schooled me on the principles, and I used those. That's why I started the Telegram, to share this information. And then I started doing my plays, and the rest is kind of history. It kind of took off from there. I've been doing VIP for 10 weeks. I've made profit in 8 of those 10 weeks, including a 32 unit win for UFC, 2 19 unit wins, over 19 units. And look, you can scroll up in the free group and look at the monster parlays for the UFC. I hit a 20-1 parlay. So this was what we call a monster parlay. It's when we do a massive parlay with a lot of fighters, you know, usually like 6 selections or so at big odds, 20-1. Week before last that hit. Last week we had a 21-1 parlay. It lost by the biggest favourite in the parlay, which is my mistake. But I've hit, in these last 10 weeks, I think 4 monster parlays. They're like 10-1 odds, 8-1 odds, again, we did this, and we did this last week, not by betting who the bookies want us to bet. We faded them. We had underdogs in there. You've got to bet the underdogs. Same with football, same with any sport. You've got to find good value underdogs and back them. Stop betting the favourites. Follow me on Telegram, Instagram, Twitter. Even though I've not really got much of a following on either of those, the Telegram is where it's at. I'll give you free information, I'll give you free bets. If you're really serious, join my VIP because I've got loads of bets locked in for this weekend. I just posted a load for MLS as well, and a couple for Roma and the Atalanta game, which I think are two amazing betting opportunities. I've used the principles I'm talking about in this game for both of those. So tail me, start winning, stop tailing cappers who only bet favourites because they're just good amateurs. They're not doing it like proper professional sports bettors should bet. Follow me, let's go.